All right, welcome to this explainer on raising financially confident kids. Today we're unpacking Mohammed Mateen's really fantastic comprehensive guide on how to teach kids about money at pretty much every stage of their lives. Now, if you've ever stressed out about passing down good financial habits, or, if you just want to make absolutely sure your kids avoid the same money mistakes you might have made, you are definitely in the right place. Let's get right into it. So let's kick things off with a number that, honestly, is a massive wake-up call. According to a 2023 survey, only 24% of millennials demonstrate basic financial literacy. 24%. That is a huge gap between what adults actually need to know to survive in the real world and what they were taught growing up. Because, let's face it, most schools just don't teach kids how to manage money or create a budget or really understand how debt works, which means that responsibility, it falls almost entirely on us, the parents.
And then there's this staggering piece of research from Cambridge University. They found that a person's money habits are fundamentally formed by age 7. Just think about that for a second. By age 7, the financial attitudes and the behaviors kids develop in those really early years, they can actually stick with them for life. So while that sounds a little daunting, it's actually an incredible opportunity. It just means we absolutely cannot afford to wait until they're teenagers to start having these conversations. To tackle this, here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the financial literacy gap, the early years from ages 3 to 8, the middle years of 9 to 12, and then teenagers 13 to 18. After that, we'll look at mastering the allowance, and finally, avoiding common mistakes. Okay, first up, the early years, covering ages 3 to 8. This is where we build the foundation of tangible money. So for the youngest kids, we're talking ages 3 to 5. The whole goal here is just simple awareness. They just need to understand that money is a thing that exists, it buys stuff, and you get it from working. And to do that, you've got to make it tangible. Try setting up a little play store at home with everyday household items in real price tags. Let them use play money, make change, the whole shebang. Then, take them grocery shopping with you. Show them how you actually compare prices between 2 different boxes of cereal. Back at home, introduce a clear piggy bank. Being able to visually watch those coins pile up is incredibly exciting for a little kid. Well, at least until they try to take it out and buy a real pony. And finally, start giving them a tiny $1 to $2 weekly allowance so they can actually practice making their own tiny spending choices. As they move up to that 6 to 8-year-old range, we introduce a total game changer, the 3-jar system. Whenever your kid gets money, allowance, birthday cash, tooth fairy, whatever, have them divide it into 3 clear jars. A super effective split is 70% for spending, 20% for saving, and 10% for giving. This one visual system secretly teaches 3 massive skills, all at the exact same time: intentional spending, consistent saving, and generosity. To really bring those jars to life, you can try these 3 things. First, help them set a highly visual savings goal. Find a picture of a Lego set or game they want, literally tape it to the save jar, and do the math together on how many weeks it'll take to get there. Second, connect money straight to effort with a simple chore chart where they earn small amounts for doing tasks. And third, hand them a small, strict budget to shop for something specific, maybe a birthday present for a friend. Let them navigate all the choices within that budget so they feel those real-life constraints. Moving right along into the middle years, ages 9 to 12. Here is where we shift from just physical money to developing actual financial thinking. At this stage, it's time to make things real. Take them to a physical bank and open up a real children's savings account. Having them watch their balance and their interest grow on a monthly statement is huge. Also, when you're at the store, teach them price per unit comparison shopping. Show them that, hey, the giant family size box isn't actually always the best value. You also want to hand over a real budget for a specific category. Maybe it's their own back-to-school clothes or their weekend entertainment, and let them experience the freedom and, frankly, the consequences of managing it. And finally, start talking about household family finances out in the open. You don't have to show them your tax returns or anything, but just explaining how your family prioritizes the budget is so valuable. Now, this age is literally the perfect time to teach what I call the double-edged sword of interest. You've got to show them how a bank pays you for saving, but credit cards charge you a fortune for borrowing. You can contrast how a $1,000 balance grows nicely at a 5% savings rate versus how $1,000 debt completely spirals out of control at a 20% credit card rate. Seeing those numbers side by side is a massive eye-opener for kids at this age. Next up, our teenagers phase, ages 13 to 18. The focus here is completely on real-world readiness and independence. For the younger teens, 13 to 15, It is all about the magic of compound interest. Check this out. If a 15-year-old invests just $1,000 at a 7% return, it grows to over $15,000 by age 65 without them ever adding another single penny. But if they wait until age 35 to invest that exact same $1,000, it only grows to about $7,600. To put that into perspective, starting early literally doubles their money. It's wild. Then, as they hit 16 to 18, they are practically out the door. So sit down and map out a mock adult budget together. Factor in real-world rent, utilities, groceries, a car. Most teenagers are absolutely mind-blown by how much living actually costs. Suddenly, ordering DoorDash every day doesn't look so sustainable. When they land their first real job, grab their pay stub and walk them through gross versus net pay. Show them exactly where those taxes are going. You also need to have some very grounded, honest talks about college costs and the heavy reality of student loans. And hey, if they have earned income from a job, help them open a Roth IRA right now to maximize that compound interest we were just talking about. All right, let's step away from the structured stuff for a second and talk about money conversations and learning through everyday dialogue. Because honestly, you don't always need a formal sit-down meeting at the kitchen table to teach this stuff. Everyday moments are perfect. Let's say you're at the grocery store. You can just casually drop in a script like, I'm choosing this brand because it's $2 cheaper and just as good. That $2 goes toward our vacation fund. It's so simple, right? But it naturally normalizes comparison shopping and links small, everyday choices to big, exciting family goals, all without sounding like you're giving a lecture. And what about when they ask for something you can't or just don't want to buy? Try shifting how you frame the no. Use a script like, that is not in our budget this month. Let's put it on the list for next month when we've planned for it. Notice how instead of just a blunt no or saying we can't afford it, you're actually blaming the budget. It completely changes the dynamic. It teaches them that money isn't just about whether you have $20 in your wallet today. It's about active, forward-thinking planning. Let's transition over to arguably the single most critical tool in a parent's teaching toolkit, mastering the allowance. The number one question parents always have is, okay, but how much should I actually give them? Well, here is a fantastic age-based weekly guideline. A super common rule of thumb is just $1 per week for every year of the child's age. So a 7-year-old gets $7 a week. A 10-year-old gets 10. Now, obviously, you tweak this based on your own family's financial situation and what you're expecting them to pay for. Like if an older teen needs to start covering their own gas, you adjust accordingly. But here's the secret. The dollar amount matters way less than how you administer it. To really make it work, stick to these best practices. First, give it out consistently on the exact same day every week. Treat it like a real paycheck. Always use small bills so they can easily split it up into their spend, save, and give jars. And this is crucial. Do not use the allowance as a punishment or a reward. It is an educational tool. If they blow all their money on a Tuesday, you have to let them experience the sting of being broke for the rest of the week. Safe failure is an amazing teacher. And lastly, financial experts highly recommend separating the basic allowance from mandatory household chores. Chores are just part of being a team player in the family. Before we wrap up, we need to address the final piece of the puzzle, avoiding common mistakes and the pitfalls to watch out for. Look, even the most well-meaning parents fall into a few traps here. A really big one is treating money like it's some sort of shameful secret we don't discuss. Another pitfall, bailing them out. Like I just mentioned, if they overspend, don't just magically refill their wallet. Letting them run out of money when they're young and the stakes are super low is invaluable. Third, giving money freely without any tied responsibility just breeds entitlement, not literacy. Fourth, remember that your kids are always watching. If you constantly model impulsive spending, they're going to copy you. And finally, please don't wait until they are teenagers to start this stuff. By then, so many of their habits are already baked in. Now, if all of this feels a little overwhelming, take a breath. I want to leave you with the absolute core empowering message from this guide. You do not need to be a financial expert to teach your children well. You just need to start. Seriously, you do not need an economics degree for this. You just need a clear piggy bank, a regular allowance day, and the willingness to just talk openly with them in the grocery store aisle. Families that simply talk about money raise kids who are confident with money. It's really that simple. To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with the exact same provocative question the author asks. What is the most important money lesson you want to teach your children? I mean, think about your own life, your own missteps, and your own wins. Let that guide what you focus on. Thank you so much for joining me as we explored this guide to raising financially literate kids. I'd love to challenge you to pick just one single activity we talked about today and start your family's financial journey this week. Catch you next time.